Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I am back with a Game of Thrones video. In this video, Game of Thrones released 2 new promotions to advertise this season, and it makes sense. They can put out these teasers that reveal very little but hype us up a lot, because the season is only 2 weeks away. And these 2 promotions added a little more context to the trailer, as well as provided a lot of new information about the season. And first, let's start with the names. The first promotion is called Survival, and the other promotion is called Together. These 2 traits play a very important role in defeating the White Walkers, but it means different things to different people. Jon's character has been defined by togetherness, and it could spawn from the childhood he had, being separated by Catelyn from his brothers and sisters. He went to join the Night's Watch to fight wildlings, and he ended up bringing the wildlings back over the wall to make peace with the Night's Watch. Jon ended up going over the wall and became a Lord Commander. He went there to fight the wildlings, but instead brought them back over the wall to make peace with the Night's Watch. After that, he decided to make peace with the Targaryen, with a woman whose father was responsible for killing his grandfather and uncle. And then, knowing that Queen Cersei wouldn't help them defeat the White Walkers, took a risk and went north of the wall to receive a white to try and bring Cersei back onto their side. So every decision Jon makes is defined to bring people together. Whereas Daenerys is almost a different mix. She's more survival. Through Daenerys' whole experience, she's been in survival circumstances and constantly had to fight to grow her way up to power, to get what she truly wants, the throne. She had to survive the Dothraki, and she had to survive Khal Drogo, and eventually fell in love with him and made the best out of that situation. And then she had to survive the desert wasteland in Koth. She was taken again by the Dothraki, and had to survive being the Dosh Khaleen and make it out of that situation. But the thing with Daenerys is that she always does. And Daenerys does a lot to help people from harm, but some things she goes against herself and doesn't represent togetherness like Jon. Like the slaves of Meereen. The slavers did a horrible thing, but she didn't want to bring peace between the 2 sides. That's what Tyrion was for. And Tyrion has also had a huge impact on bringing the togetherness aspect into Daenerys' character. But then you get other characters where it means something different, like Cersei. Cersei doesn't value togetherness. Cersei has only ever survived. And now she sits on the throne refusing to help Daenerys and Jon. Because in her opinion, when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. There is no middle ground. So if she gives up any power by yielding to Daenerys, by helping out Jon defeat the White Walkers, in her mind, she is as good as dead. And these are the traits that are going to be embedded in this whole season. But let's get to the footage. And we see a couple things that we've already seen from the trailer. We see Cersei with Qyburn in King's Landing, and we see the Golden Company arriving to the shores. And this just further proves how deep Cersei is, with defeating everyone who can test her throne, because she is playing the Game of Thrones. She went into tremendous debt with the Iron Bank to get a bunch of glorified sellswords to help her win this fight. Whereas oppositely, Daenerys and Jon are fighting something different. We see them arrive at Winterfell, and that represents togetherness. These are 2 big armies from opposing sides of history who have finally come together. And we see Tyrion preaching this in the Great Hall. We see Sansa and Daenerys sitting at the main table, and Tyrion says that we need to stick together now or die, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's power in numbers, and I do believe there will be some issues politically, but it will be completely masked by the huge threat of the White Walkers. And I think we'll see all of this unfold during all the scenes in Winterfell before we have the battle for Winterfell. We see Jon at the crypts of Winterfell, and here I'm sure he's having a moment with his late father, Eddard Stark, and we know that Daenerys joins him when he's down here. And I think with Jon and Daenerys, there's going to be a lot of character development. These characters will be deeply in love. But from Daenerys' point of view, unfortunately, he's kind of a threat. She could find out that he is a Targaryen. And in this promo, we see that he could be riding a dragon. And while Jon doesn't want power and would easily allow Daenerys to sit the throne as long as he gets to stay in Winterfell, it may not work out for him. And we also see Jon and Daenerys by a fire. And I think that all these scenes of Jon and Daenerys together will be nice because they're in love, but at the same time it has a huge impact on their whole team. And it's the balancing act of fighting for the throne or fighting the White Walkers. Because I'm sure Cersei's going to be throwing a lot of wrenches in their gears. Maybe she'll send the Golden Company or her Lannister force north, because she's at that level of desperation now. She just wants to sit the throne. And I'm sure Jon and Daenerys would have very different ideologies on how to move forward. because Daenerys at the end of the day still wants to sit the throne, whereas that's not important for Jon. And we see scenes here where Daenerys looks almost upset, and I think Jorah is behind her. And that makes sense because Jorah is her oldest companion. And through everything they've been through, I'm sure Jorah will be her rock as well as her counsel, because he did love her, and probably still does. And he may be providing her counsel that she doesn't like, on how Jon could really affect her chances of sitting the throne. And that being said, we hear a quote in this promotion that speaks to both of these scenes. Sam says, "Think back to where we started." And Jon says, "Now it's just us. We need to end this war." And the first part of what Sam says I like because it harkens back to where they started in Season 1. And that's what we see here with Daenerys and Jorah. They started in Season 1, and Jorah was almost like a father figure, a mentor to Daenerys. But now Daenerys is fully grown, she is a queen. The circumstances changed, but their relationship has stayed the same. And I think the same works with the Weirwood Tree, where just like Jorah being behind Daenerys, Arya is behind Jon. And we only got to see these characters together for one episode. But that episode conveyed how much these characters mean to each other. Jon provided Arya Needle. And that needle is what grounded Arya on her adventure of being faceless. To the point where she couldn't do it. She couldn't disassociate herself from being a Stark. And I think much like Arya, Jon will feel the same. After finding out who he is, that he's a Targaryen, he will still resonate as a Stark. And he will go see his father Ned in the crypts of Winterfell. Because that last name Targaryen just comes with a bunch of implications that Jon doesn't want politically. But it also comes with some benefits, and I think we see that in this promotion. We see Varys, Tyrion, and Davos stare at the skies, and they're presumably staring at a dragon. And I find this interesting because all these characters are the main components of Daenerys and Jon's council. And first of all I want to point out is that they've already arrived. Tyrion, Varys, and Davos look already settled in at Winterfell, which means that the dragons aren't just flying over Winterfell like that shot we see with Sansa. They're flying for a different reason. We see Jon and Daenerys go and see Rhaegal and Drogon, and they're in their own nest outside of Winterfell. And I think they may take a ride. In the next shot, we see a shot of Rhaegal. It's a very cinematic shot. And what I want to draw attention to is how it was shot. It's not an overview of the dragon, it's a side. It's almost like a cinematic way of portraying what it is like to fly. And it's the reveal that Jon is on the back of the dragon. But they cut just before that reveal happens. Because the show wants to capture the intensity of Jon riding that dragon. And having two dragon riders is going to be very key in defeating the third dragon rider, the Night King. But then we see the Night King arrive, and he brings total devastation. We see the Unsullied preparing, but then Winterfell is engulfed in flames. We see Beric fighting with the Hound. Clearly the Hound is troubled, and Beric is trying to scream him back into the fight. We see Arya also holding them off. And sometime in this Winterfell scene, we're going to be seeing Arya run, which to me shows her contrast coming full circle as a character. And we're going to see that a lot in this season. Syrio always said there's only one thing you can say to death, not today. And that is survival. We also see Jaime holding down Winterfell. We've never seen him fight before, so I think that will be very entertaining. And we hear Jaime say that this goes beyond loyalty. This is about survival. And I think that really speaks to why he left Cersei in Season 7. And that's how I believe every character in this show feels, except for Cersei. And that's what makes her such a formidable opponent. Cersei thinks that being loyal is the key to survival, because she grew up with Tywin Lannister, where you never turn your back and you never trust anybody but your family. But then we also see some shots of Jon Snow. And the key shots here is that he is not in Winterfell. He's on the outskirts. And I think Jon led the front lines with the Unsullied, the Dothraki, the Wildlings, and probably some members of Winterfell. And they kept all the civilians inside in the crypts of Winterfell. And I think we see Jon rushing back to Winterfell for two reasons. Either he's running back because Winterfell has caught fire and he's trying to protect his people, or he's retreating from the White Walkers. And I think this will be a huge cinematic piece, and I think that Jon once again is going to share a moment with the Night King. Much like in Hard Home when the Night King was staring at him, much like Over the Wall when he stared a look at the Night King after he killed the dragon. Because it seems like there's some connection between the Night King and Jon Snow. Whether the Night King sees Jon as a combative equal and something he has to overcome, or he sees Jon as his target. Check out my latest video on the myth to Azor Ahai. And just so everyone knows, I'm going to start ramping up the channel because Game of Thrones is starting. For every single episode, I am going to be doing a reaction and review video. I'm going to be doing a breakdown video, as well as I'm going to be doing a weekly live stream so we can discuss the full episode and really geek out. So please leave me some comments if you have any suggestions for videos. I have some ideas coming up that I'm going to try and really get back into working. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.